Palantir is under scrutiny from its own shareholders who voted today on a proposal that would force Palantir to address its alleged human rights violations. Now, what human rights violations am I referring to? Well, if you're curious, all you need to do is listen to the head of the company, Alex Karp, who can't really stop himself from bragging about it.
Your AI and your technology from Palantir kills Palestinians.
Mostly terrorists, that's true.
Me as a front man offending half of America.
I don't think in win-lose. I think in domination.
Almost nothing makes a human happier than taking the lines of cocaine away from these short sellers.
I love the idea of getting a drone and having light fentanyl-laced urine spraying on analysts who tried to screw us.
Yeah, this whole thing online where people like laud the Nazis. Like, I spent a lot of time talking to Nazis, like real Nazis, and like understanding what made them tick.
Was he referring to the Israelis in that last statement? Is that what he was talking about? So that's Alex Karp. He makes me want to vomit every time I hear him speak. But nonetheless, let's get back to the investors who apparently also want to vomit every time they hear this man speak. So this proposal by the investors was actually filed by the Presbyterian Church of the United States and the Sisters of St. Joseph of Peace. Both happen to be investors in Palantir. And if you're wondering, is that possible? Can like religious organizations do that? Yes, they can. So their efforts were actually also backed by Norway's $2 trillion plus sovereign wealth fund. So money talks. We're not talking about small time investors. We're talking about big time investors in Palantir. And so what exactly are these organizations trying to do? What are they trying to uncover? Well, Palantir has racked up a long list, as you can imagine, of alleged human rights abuses over the years. And we'll get into what those human rights abuses are in just a moment. But first, I do want to just quickly clear up a common misconception that I myself had for the longest time about what Palantir does exactly, okay? Because there's this misconception that they spy on Americans, but that's actually not what's happening. In fact, our government spies on Americans, collects data, in fact, so much data that our incompetent government is unable to organize it, sift through it. You get the picture. So they have contracted that process out to Palantir. Palantir is the one who has access to that data collected by the government. And the whole reason Palantir is working or has been contracted by our government is because they're the ones who help sift through that data. That mountain of data on Americans, okay? So it's erasing the friction that the US is the government is experiencing with all that surveillance and data they collect, but don't have the capacity to go through themselves. In other words, Palantir is enabling the government to surveil its citizens more efficiently, but Palantir isn't actually doing the surveillance themselves. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's get to the human rights abuses. So in its response to the shareholder proposal, Palantir defended its work with the United States government, saying that they reject the false dichotomy presented by many tech companies that working with the military opposes human rights. To refuse to work with the US military would be a failure to recognize the military's role in defending democratic institutions and rules-based order. Do we want to pause for laughter? Like, what a joke. Okay, that is a myth. Okay, our country doesn't believe in the rules-based order. If it did, it wouldn't be enabling genocide. It wouldn't be arming Israel to commit atrocities. We don't actually believe in the rules-based order. We only pretend like we do when we want to go after a different foreign country that's doing something we don't like, right? The rules-based order means a lot to the Americans when it comes to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But when it comes to Israel's invasion of southern Lebanon, what rules-based order? What rules-based order? No, it was Hezbollah. It's Hezbollah's fault. Okay, if you had the military of a foreign country occupying Texas right now, are you gonna tell me that Texans are just gonna stand there and take it? There'd be no resistance at all? all those gun-toting Texans would just allow a foreign actor to invade our country and occupy it? I don't think so. But let me continue with more of what Palantir had to say here. This order, while imperfect, has been foundational to the protection of human rights worldwide. It's still referring to the so-called rules-based order. What a joke. And we assert that by engaging with the defense sector, we are positioned to help promote and support ethically defensible outcomes. You guys want to profit off of government contracts funded by American taxpayers. That is what Palantir wants to do. Please, you can leave me with all this BS talk about rules-based order and democracy and how you guys are doing this because you believe in doing the right thing. You guys are making money. That is what you're doing. We all know it, so don't lie to our faces about it. Now, Palantir is making a lot of money off its government contracts. So Palantir's government revenue is expected to grow to $3.8 billion in 2026. And that number increased from just $2.4 billion a year ago. So what are we doing? And in its response to this shareholder proposal, Palantir also defended its work with ICE, because of course they did, which for the record has been a bipartisan collaboration. This is not just something that the Trump administration has done. This is something that both Democrats and Republicans have enabled. Palantir has worked with Immigration and Customs Enforcement since the Obama administration, notably in supporting investigations into transnational criminal organizations engaged in major criminal activity with a nexus to the border, such as human smuggling and drug trafficking.
Starting something new is terrifying. When we launched our Shop TYT store, I was drowning in what ifs. What if no one buys anything? What if the site looks amateurish? I almost talked myself out of it, but I took the leap anyway, and I'm glad I did, because Shopify made it incredibly easy to turn those what ifs into real sales. Shopify is the commerce platform powering millions of businesses globally. Get a load of this, it handles 10% of all US e-commerce. That's amazing. It's behind brands like Allbirds, Gymshark, and yep, our very own Shop TYT. They give you one all-in-one dashboard for inventory, payments, and analytics, so you're not juggling 10 different logins. Need product descriptions? Shopify's AI tools crank out copy and even polish your photos, and mine needs polishing. And if you get stuck, their 24/7 support team has your back. So if you got an idea for a business or a side hustle, stop what-ifing. It's time to turn those what-ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/TYT. Go to shopify.com/TYT. That's shopify.com/TYT.
And look, to be honest with you, as long as Palantir isn't committing human rights abuses in doing that, I don't have a problem. If their focus is on transnational gangs that cause harm to the American people, I don't have a problem with Palantir working alongside our government to do something about that. But I do have a problem with a lot of what Palantir actually does. They say that our most recent contract with ICE, which began negotiation under the Biden administration, reflects a continued commitment by Palantir to support the US government in its most central missions. But here's what I don't support. I don't support a private corporation, a company like Palantir, sifting through data on American citizens, which is what our government has basically provided a contract to Palantir to do. Palantir also stood by its partnership with the IDF. That tells me everything I need to know about Palantir. They say our work in Israel predates the October 7th terror attack. How does that make that any better? I don't care. And they say that it's in line with our global support of US allies and liberal democracies. Again, pause for laughter. What a joke. So Palantir's CEO, Alex Karp, has publicly cheered on the worst excesses of American and Israeli military forces. So I get that they're trying to calm their investors, their shareholders down, because, at the end of the day, that's the value of their stock, and they don't want these investors pulling out. But make no mistake about it, the human rights abuses are real, and they've been enabled by our government.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.